What's up, everybody? John Washburn, the Dean of Mortgages, coming at you from beautiful Strongsville, Ohio today with Josh, Anton, and the Greathouse team. How you doing, man?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I am great.
Good.
Wanted to do a video today on just the general state of the real estate market in here. April 4th, Masters Week of 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Masters.
So, go Tiger. If you're a Tiger fan, why wouldn't you be a Tiger fan? So, state of the market. What do we got going on? Big picture. When people come to you and they're like, Josh, is it a good time to buy a house? Tell me what's going on with the market here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, tough question to answer. I think the answer is yes for a lot of you. Is it a good time to buy? Do you need to buy right now? If so, it can be a great time to buy. State of the state right now, in a very high level sort of broad view, is it's a little bit better than it was maybe peak October 21 when rates were crazy low and it was like the Wild West out there. We've certainly seen the inventory play a major role in the continued competitiveness of the real estate market. But I think the one reason why I think it can still be a great time to buy is this, dude. In that point when it was just wild, we were doing some nutso things with regards to appraisal gaps and waiving inspections and doing stuff that was just really out of the ordinary. And we've seen a pretty significant slowdown in that, generally speaking. And maybe people have had more of the opportunity to sort of slow down, negotiate more tactfully, take a little more time. I'm not saying that the high or heavy markets here are experience a significant slowdown by any means, still competitive. But people aren't having to do some of the crazy stuff that they were doing, a year and a half ago. So I think taking advantage of that time right now, if you have the means and are ready to buy a home, we have a cool window here where you can still do it, and it's a moderately normal process.
Yeah, when I sold my house in January of 2021, I was able to negotiate with the buyer that I should be able to stay in my house for free without rent all the way until June. So I sold the house in January and I stayed in there, got the kids through school all the way to the end of June.
Phenomenal.
That was what we call the peak of the seller's market, right? Buyers, if that guy didn't accept that offer, my counter offer to him, he wasn't getting my house, right? So seems like we're not in the place where buyers have to make such large concessions right now.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's just those little nuances are down. Look, they're still present, right? I'll still see listings that say they need, possession for 3 months or 4 months, and they're doing the things like selling as is, and all that stuff is still here, just maybe not in an abundance as it was. And maybe they're being a little more realistic with, in your case, do you know how hard it is to talk to a client and says, hey, you can buy this home, we can get it. You're going to be making payments on it, but you're not going to live there until, the leaves have changed. And this is really difficult to do. There are still homes out there that require it. And I just think you can negotiate a little more right now as we're talking April 2023, more opportunities to be a little more tactful in your negotiation.
Yeah, I think from the lending side, it's been interesting. As I'm sure everyone's heard, rates are up, right? Rates have been up. In October of 2021, you might have gotten an interest rate that started with a 2. All last year, you were probably looking at stuff. Yeah, congrats on that, by the way. All last year, we were looking at stuff. It was in the 4s for a while. Then it was in the 5s for the while. Then it was in the 6s for a while. At the end of last year, October, November of 2022, I saw some rates starting with a 7. It was kind of crazy, right? And that increase in rate has hurt people's buyer power. And because it's hurt their buying power, that has caused demand to go down. Yeah. We've seen mortgage applications decrease. We've seen demand go down, but it's crazy. We haven't actually seen the supply shoot way up, right? People ask me all the time, John, is this 2008? Are we in another housing bubble? What's going on? And I say, look, there's a lot of reasons to that you might think that the market's in trouble, but just look at inventory. Yeah. There's nothing out there. You were telling me how many homes are there for sale in Avon right now?
My buddy's looking in Avon, and I just pulled it up, just curious. There are 22 homes in Avon. Avon's big.
Yeah.
I pulled up Strongsville. That's where I live. There are, I think, 28.
Yeah.
There's a lot of homes in Strongsville.
Yeah. Well, my office assistant, she sold her house in October, was under contract on another house. That deal unfortunately fell through. She's still living with her parents right now, right? There's nothing to avail. I live in Menor. There's nothing available in Menor, right? So this low inventory is keeping home values up.
Yes.
Right. And, I'm also, I think it's a good time to buy right now. Now, look, I know every time you've ever spoken to a lender, every time you've ever spoken to a realtor, what do we tell you? Oh, it's a great time to buy. What's the best time to buy right now? I promise I'm not saying that, right? I have told people it was a better time to buy before, or it might be a better time in 3-6 months. Everyone believes that rates are going to go down. We've seen them start to come back down here a little bit recently. All right. When rates get back into the 5s, or hopefully into the 4s someday, you are going to see a lot of buyers come back out of the woodwork. Like, okay, now I'm ready to buy. Yeah. Right. I've spoken to so many people. I've pre-approved them. They looked for 3 months. They're like, there's nothing out here. I'm going to wait until rates go down. There's a lot of people that are waiting until rates go down. And I'm very worried that, come June, come August, if rates go back down and we see a flood of buyers to the marketplace, are we going to be back where we were in October 2021?
Yeah, I think so. And one thing I think, if we're gonna maybe categorize who should be buying now, I would love to see the FHA and VA buyers getting in right now. And let me maybe explain that a little bit. We had such a tough time getting FHA and VA offers approved in the heat of that market because there was such a large conventional cash. Like the competition was so fierce. And I know FHA buyers were getting just beat down, and really like the sentiment was so bad. Like, why even try? And then as things, as the rates went up a little bit and maybe the market was a little more cautious, like there's a window. And I think the window is now. Right. And those are the folks that I would really like to see get back in before it turns and all of a sudden we're back in this. And it stinks. I hate that whole scenario from a realtor's perspective. It's like, you can afford it, you can do it, but because you're FHA as opposed to conventional and you have a lesser down payment, they might view that as maybe not as good a scenario as they could get in. It stinks. So my personal opinion is if you're a VA or FHA buyer, right now is a great window to consider getting back in and trying to get something before it gets too crazy.
I totally agree. Yeah. The good news as well, FHA and VA rates are lower than conventional rates. We are seeing FHA and VA rates in the 5s for not even like, you don't even have to have an 800 credit score for that necessarily. Just regular qualified buyers. Additionally, FHA just dropped that mortgage insurance premium a couple weeks ago. Used to be 0.85%. Now it's 0.55%. I have actually talked a few buyers that were qualified to use conventional loans into going FHA because it was saving so much money. Yeah. And again, the market's not necessarily a buyer's market, but their FHA offer because they didn't have 27 offers on a house. They had 3. And that FHA offer was very strong. So yeah, I totally agree, especially if you're getting a government loan, FHA, VA, great time right now to pounce. And, we've heard this little phrase around, right? Marry the house, date the rate. It's kind of, cute. It's kind of silly.
I've used it.
Yeah, I've used it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But I think it's accurate, right? If you can get that house right now, and let's say your rate starts with a 5 or 6, or you can wait until your rate starts with a 4 or 5, but you got to pay an extra 20 grand. You got to pay an extra 30 grand on that house. You're not saving any money in monthly, and you're definitely not saving any money, long-term from the principal that you're borrowing. So yeah, I think we have an interesting sort of little bubble right now of a potentially better option to buy than what it's going to be 3-6 months from now when inventory doesn't get any better and rates go down, and now we have a lot more demand on the market.
You brought up an excellent point because the rates being what they are is scaring a lot of people. And I get it because you hear the rates on the radio and everybody talks about the rates, the rates, the Fed, the rates. But what they're not getting exposure to, and being someone that works predominantly with buyers is in the weeds when you talk about making these offers and going out and seeing all these homes and the terms and what you're writing. And when that market was what it was at its peak, when the interest rates were extremely low and supply was low, every single offer we were making to even be competitive was significantly over ask. The idea of asking for closing costs was so taboo. And so just like,
what are those? Seller concessions.
We didn't bring it up. It's like, normally like, okay, maybe we could shave off. Maybe we can ask for 1 or 2% or $2,000, $3,000, get a few things paid for. I didn't get closing costs on a deal in a long time. And I'd like to view myself as a pretty good negotiator on that front. And it just simply wasn't in the cards if you wanted to be competitive. What we were doing was we were writing things like $5,000, $10,000, $25,000. Sometimes I saw offers $50,000 appraisal gaps. Okay. And what that means, you're willing to pay that much in cash over what the home is appraised at. That's, to me, that's wild. And I think we're going to get right back into there. I was having unfortunate conversations with first-time home buyers around, should we waive the inspection so we can get this thing? And that gives me the queasies. Like, that's a big no-no. I think in very, very, the predominant amount of scenarios, waiving an inspection is just not the right thing to do. Are we going to get there again? Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to view that as a scenario that's easier for them on the seller side. And that's just really tough. And that makes it entirely difficult. And it's daunting as a buyer to go through that and keep losing and keep losing when you're doing everything in your power to be as aggressive as you can't really tell.
I totally agree. Couple things I'll say on my side from the lending side. I keep getting asked by a lot of people, is it a good time to pay points? Interest rates are higher. Should I just buy that rate lower? I still don't think that permanent buy downs are a great use of money. I still believe that sometime in the next 2-3 years, rates are going to go down. There's going to be a really great opportunity to refinance. But like you're saying, I have been able to do a temporary interest rate buy down with a few buyers on a few homes lately, because we're actually able to get 1% or 2% from the seller on a couple deals. And instead of using, that 2% from the seller to cover, title fees and, lender fees, we're using that to buy the interest rate down 2 points in year 1 point in year 2. So we're able to help, maybe you were going to have a 6.5, but we can get you at a 4.5 in year 1, a 5.5 in year 2. I think that these temporary buy downs, if you can use them, are a much better use of your money right now, or of the seller's money, than these permanent buy downs. I really don't think most people that are paying points towards the mortgage are ever going to be in these loans long enough to actually get that money back. But these temporary buy downs, just like Josh said, like in this market, you might be able to get something from the seller, get some money from a temporary buy down. That's going to help lower your monthly payment. It's going to keep your total liabilities monthly, what you want, and kind of bridge you over until rates get low again. Now you've married the house, you dated this rate for 1.5 years. Now you're getting a better rate, and everything's going to be great.
You just brought up something to me that I have rarely, if ever, have heard from a lender. Like, I honestly, I don't even know like all the intricate details of that scenario. Ignorant on my part, I suppose, but frankly, it's because nobody else is talking about that. From my vantage point, like, we talk to the buyers, I'm like, hey, what's your rate going to be? What are we doing here? What type of loan? But honestly, that's not even being proposed that much in my little silo of business. I think it's like, it makes total sense to be exploited. If you're not being presented that option, who are you talking to? That's fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah, talk to the Steadfast Mortgage team, right? So I have made a couple of videos about this. I'll throw that link in the comment section on these videos for you guys to watch. I'll say this. I've been in mortgages for almost 7 years, right? Not forever, but I didn't just get in yesterday. For 6.5 of those years, I never once pitched a temporary buy down. Didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense at all. Then like last July, all of a sudden we started looking at these temporary buy downs, and I'm like, you know what? This makes a lot of sense right now. In a world where we all believe rates are going to go down,
Mhm.
And in a world where we're actually starting to see some sellers give concessions back, all of a sudden, oh wait, you can get $5,000 from the seller to make your rate lower in year one. And then year two, we might be refinancing anyway. It makes so much sense. And the thing I love about the temporary buy down, if you refinance in 7 months because rates get low that quickly, all of the money that you got from the seller, you get to keep. You get to use that to cover your closing costs on the next loan. You could use it to pay the principal down on your next loan. You never lose that, as opposed to you spend 2 points in permanent buy down points today and you refinance a year from now, 2 years from now, you lose that. It's gone forever. You're never getting that money back. So I would still say stay away from permanent buy downs. Maybe pay a point. I've seen people, 2-3 points, they're getting quoted. That's a terrible idea. Temporary buy downs, if you can get it from the seller, great idea. And take advantage of this time before rates go back down, and you and everyone that wanted to buy a house starts going to look at that same house. And now all of a sudden you're back to where Josh said you'd be with all these crazy offers.
Yeah. What's your quick opinion? I'm very curious on straight variable.
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about it. I mean, I've been in real estate almost 4 years. I've never done one. Not one person has used a variable rate. And I've started to hear it sort of get thrown around a little bit. Some of the articles I'm reading, you go on Bigger Pockets and they're talking about, hey, it might be a time to maybe consider a variable. What do you think of that in our market or as a whole?
Great question. So again, been in for 7 years, 6.5 years, didn't do a single ARM.
Yeah.
Last July, I had to relook at these things. Some of them started making sense. Okay. Couple things with ARMs I always want to tell people. Number one, the ARMs of 2023 are not the ARMs of 2003. Okay. There are much greater protections on the ARM side.
Okay.
Right. In 2003, you had these weird 0% teaser rates on ARMs, interest only, that would, when the ARM term expired, so you might have a 0% interest only payment for 3 years, but then at 3 years and a day, there was no cap on how high it could go. And it went from interest only to fully amortizing. So you literally could have a monthly payment of $600 today and then $3,000 tomorrow. That was killing people. That was one of the things that led to the housing crisis. Oh, and also when you got pre-approved for that loan, you only had to get pre-approved on your payment on the interest only ARM side, not the fully amortizing payment that it was going to be in. All right. So now when we approve you, we have to pre-approve you worst case scenario. Secondly, there's caps. So it can't ever increase more than a certain amount per year, and it can't ever increase more than a certain amount for the life of the loan. So you're protected. Thirdly, almost all ARMs are going to be fixed for a period of time. 3-year, 5-year, 10-year. These are the most common ones. And again, if you think that rates are going to go down in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, at any point in the next 10 years, I put one of my best friends in the world into a 10-year ARM because it was priced so well last year. And I was like, look, we can get this 10-year ARM. There's no way that the rate doesn't get better at some point in the next 10 years. But even if it doesn't, right? Even if you're in this and then we go worst case scenario in year 10, it goes up, 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 up. You save so much money in the first 10 years of that mortgage because your rate was lower. Made a lot of sense. So a lot of people are scared of ARMs because of what they used to be. They're not like that anymore. Again, if you think rates are going to go down and you're going to lock into something for 3 years, 5 years, I think an ARM is a good option for a lot of people. Yeah.
That's good. I think for us realtors, we need to bring that conversation up with our clients. I think it's a great way for us to be more consultative and provide some additional insight and things that you can talk to the lender about, just so we know we're covering our vast array of options. And if there's a program that you can get them into that can ultimately give them more buying power or be more competitive in this competitive environment, we've got to do it.
Absolutely.
So have those conversations for sure.
Well, this was Josh Anton. Great house team over here with Remax Above and Beyond, west side of Cleveland. John Washburn, Dina Mortgages, east side of Cleveland, Mentor, Ohio area. It was great having you on the program today.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
We will do it again. Again, Dina Mortgages signing out. School is out.